Over 3,000 years ago, the civilized world suddenly vanished into fire and ruins. But what if the great empires of the Bronze Age had survived, changing the course of human history forever? In the late 12th century before Christ, humanity stood on the brink of greatness. Magnificent cities stretched from the Mediterranean to the Persian Gulf. Glittering chariots guarded vast trade routes. Scholars recorded laws, poetry, and science on clay tablets. This was an era of unprecedented globalization, where Egyptian pharaohs exchanged gold for Hittite iron and Mycenaean bronze. And then, in the blink of an eye, it all burned. Historians call it the Bronze Age collapse. Mysterious invaders known as the Sea Peoples swept across the oceans. Cities were reduced to ash. Writing systems vanished. Empires crumbled into dust, plunging humanity into a dark age that lasted for centuries. But what if the collapse never happened? What if the great empires had held the line? Imagine a world where Pharaoh Ramses III successfully repelled the invaders, securing Egypt's borders for good. To the north, the Hittite Empire manages to secure its vital grain routes, preventing the devastating famines that weakened their cities. In Greece, the mighty Mycenaean citadels, with their massive stone walls, stand firm against the chaos. If these empires had survived, the immediate result would have been the preservation of human knowledge. When the Bronze Age collapsed, we lost writing systems like Linear B, and it took centuries for literacy to return to the Aegean. Without this dark age, the cumulative knowledge of mathematics, astronomy, and medicine would have continued uninterrupted. We would not have had to wait for the classical Greeks to rediscover the wheel of progress. The Library of Alexandria might have been built 500 years earlier, housing texts from an unbroken lineage of ancient scholars. Furthermore, the globalization of the Bronze Age would have expanded. Before the collapse, trade routes connected Cornwall to Afghanistan. Copper, tin, gold, and lapis lazuli flowed freely across continents. Had this network remained intact, it would have accelerated technological development. Instead of a slow transition to the Iron Age, we might have seen a rapid synthesis of metallurgy. Imagine ancient engineers mastering the combination of bronze, iron, and early steel. By the time the real-world Roman Empire was just a collection of mud huts, this alternate world could have been experiencing an early industrial revolution, powered by advanced watermills, complex gears, and perhaps even early steam engines. The geopolitical map of the world would be unrecognizable. Without the vacuum left by the collapse of the Hittites and the weakening of Egypt, smaller nations like Phoenicia, Israel, and eventually Rome might never have risen to prominence. The Western world would not be defined by Greco-Roman culture. Instead, the dominant superpowers would remain the ancient kingdoms of the Near East. We would see a world dominated by Egyptian solar theology and Hittite legal codes. The gods of the ancient world, like Amun-Ra, Baal, and Zeus, would have evolved into a highly organized, interconnected pantheon, shaping a global religion that could still exist today. The skip of a 500-year dark age means humanity's timeline shifts forward dramatically. The scientific achievements of the Renaissance and the Industrial Revolution might have occurred during what we call antiquity. By the time our calendar reached the year 1000, humanity might have already mastered electricity, conquered the oceans, and looked toward the stars. We will never know for sure what secrets were lost in the ashes of the Bronze Age. But by exploring these forgotten empires, we realize just how fragile civilization truly is, and how close we came to a completely different future. What do you think? Would a surviving Bronze Age have led us to the stars sooner, or would these rigid empires have eventually collapsed under their own weight? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this journey into alternate history, please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss another deep dive into the mysteries of the past.